Hey everybody, I'm Jeremy,
I'm Desi.
and today we are going to be talking about crate training your dog, kind of how to get them started and get them accustomed to being in the crate the correct way.
And making sure that they're comfortable, that they feel good in it. We don't use it for punishment.
Yep, so it's not a punishment. It should be somewhere the dog's kind of comfortable hanging out at. Should be like their own personal little bedroom.
Yep. And this here is our friend Moose, and he's going to be demonstrating some of this for you. He's not entirely crate trained yet, so we figured he would be a good candidate for this.
So Moose loves food. So we're going to see if we can get him kind of going in the crate and hanging out for a few seconds on his own. And we'll walk you guys through how we initially teach it from the beginning to, yes buddy, I see you. So we'll start kind of at the beginning, how we start to teach it, and work our way up from there.
This should be pretty entertaining with Moose.
I think Moose is ready to do something.
Alright, Goofy.
Alright, buddy, come on. So when I first start crate training a dog, come on, I actually throw the food in the crate first, and I encourage the dog to go in after it. Hi, Moose. Come here. Yes, sir. Good boy. Come on.
And you'll notice he's not actually putting any commands to it yet, but he is marking it with a yes when he goes in.
Yes, good boy. Come on.
And I think Moose thinks this game is wonderful.
Good boy. So this is kind of how we start a dog on crate training.
He's really excited.
Hi, bud.
Yes, good boy.
So he's getting a little bit slower at coming out now. He's starting to realize that being in the crate is what he's getting rewarded for. Yes. And now there's the hesitation that we're looking for. All right. So this next time when he goes in, I'm actually going to reward him for staying in there. I was a little bit slow that time because I didn't have a treat ready. Moose. Yes, good boy. Good job. Oh, good job, bud.
It helps if you get the treat in the crate.
Yep. Don't bounce it off the dog's head and bounce it back out of the crate. Now when I'm ready for the dog to come out, once they... Okay, you didn't see the other one I tossed in there, huh? So once they start to hesitate about coming out a little bit like that, then I'll actually start introducing the word free, so the dog hopefully learns that they have permission to come out of the crate. And still at this point, we have not said crate or kennel yet. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Good boy. All right, so the dog goes in. He hesitates to come back out a little bit. Free. Come on. Yes, sir. Good boy. Then I could bring him out by saying free. And I just lure him out with food. Yes. Good boy. Free. Oh, good job, Moose.
Yep, and good boy.
Yes.
So basically turning this into kind of a game for the dog. You want them to just kind of go in and out real quick. You don't really care so much that they stick around for an hour. Again, this is just the beginning phases. We'll add time as things goes on.
So now I have to get the dog in the crate without actually throwing food in first, so the food can become an actual reward and not a bribe, right? So when I start doing this, I normally walk over close to the crate and I'll try to see if the dog will go in on their own. If they do, then I'll mark that with a yes and then give the dog food. So at some point we have to make that transition from throwing food in the crate first to getting the dog in the crate first. Yes, sir! Thank you for cooperating, Moose. Free. Good boy. Oh, watch your noggin. Yes, sir! Good boy. Good job, Moose. Good job,
So
buddy.
he's starting to figure it out. He kind of pawed at Jeremy like, what do I do to get the treat? Oh, I go in, okay.
All right. Hey, look up here. I don't know what you were looking at, but stay focused, Daniel, son. Yes, sir! Good boy. Free. All right. Free. All right. All right, man. Slobbery old dog. Hey, don't take off. Hey, dude, don't take off. Yes, good boy. So now that we can get the dog going in the crate first, and then giving them a reward, we've made that positive association with the crate. So now we can start putting a command to it. And again, remember, this is pretty, we're kind of rushing through this a little bit. I would normally spend, you know, a few days just getting the dog in the crate before I worry about putting a command to it. So I'm going to tell Moose I'll use kennel, and we'll see if we can get him in there. So I say the command first, and then I coax the dog in, and then I reward the dog. Okay, reward the behavior. Moose, come on. Ready? Kennel. Yes, sir. Good boy. Good job. Free. Again, I say free, so he knows he has permission to get out. Oh, I dropped one. You can find it. Moose. Kennel. Oh, almost. He tried to cheat me a little bit out of that one. Tried to pretend he was going to go in. Ready? Kennel. Ooh, I ain't no sucker. You can't trick me. Kennel. Yes, sir. Good boy. Yes. So when we're talking about training and getting behaviors, we have to reward the behavior. So if the dog doesn't give us the behavior that we want, we don't reward it. Sometimes they'll trick us and get rewarded anyway. And that's how we make something not super reliable. Moose. Kennel. Yes, sir. Good boy. Free. Free. Yeah, good job, Moose Goose. Ready? Moose. Kennel. Yes, sir. Good boy. Free. All right, so Moose is actually going in the kennel fairly easily. Some dogs may resist going in a kennel, especially if they've had a bad experience with a kennel before. So some dogs are a little hesitant about going in. If you have a dog that doesn't want to go in your kennel, I suggest getting an open kennel like this, and then you can get somebody to help you, and whoever is working with the dog can give the dog the command kennel, or get the dog in the kennel. Yes. Or going towards the kennel, and then your second person can stand behind the kennel and kind of coax them in a little bit. So sometimes if the dog's hesitant about going in the kennel, here it is, y'all let you. Yes, good boy. Free. So we'll let Desi work with Moose real quick on getting him in the kennel, and then what I'll do is I'll stand behind the kennel. And this is good if you have somebody to help you. Yes!
I thought he was going to take off on me.
So I can feed the dog through the back side of the kennel.
Moose, kennel.
Yes, good boy.
Oh, you missed it.
So that really also gets the dog in the kennel. We don't have to worry about treats bouncing out if we're tossing them in the kennel.
Kennel.
Yes. Good boy. So they have to come all the way to the back of the kennel to get the treat.
Moose, kennel.
Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Yes.
And you see he's giving him more than one at a time, so he's kind of getting him to hang out a little bit longer. Moose, free. Good boy. Good boy, Moose. Hey, kennel.
Yes. Moose.
Moose, kennel.
Yes, sir. Good boy.
So he really likes this game because he's getting fed twice.
All right, so if you got a helper, that's one way you can kind of get the dog in the kennel and keep him there. You don't, like I said, you don't got to worry about the food bouncing out of the kennel if you're tossing it in. You just got more control over the treats that you're using, and everything's always useful.
Yes, sir. So what about using the kennel for timeout?
So I don't generally use a kennel for timeout.
But what if you're just so sick of your dog barking and running around the house, and it's like, man, just go to bed.
Kind of like Drake is inside right now. So he's barking because he wants to come out here. So I will correct the dog for barking unnecessarily. Okay. So I don't use a crate or a kennel as a punishment, because I want the dog to have a positive association with the kennel. I don't want the dog to think, oh crap, you're trying to get me in the kennel because I messed up doing whatever. Okay, so if the dog has a negative association with the kennel, then obviously they're not going to want to go in the kennel. And those are the dogs that we end up having to fight with, like grabbing their leash and dragging them into the kennel. Yes sir, good boy. And kind of forcing them in there, which actually makes the dog kind of resent going in the kennel even more. So the harder,
especially if you're angry.
Yeah.
You know, when you're mad, they know that they're in trouble. They know that it's a negative thing. So if you're dragging them and you're frustrated, you're gonna definitely apply a negative association.
Yes, sir.
You should always be very, very happy when your dog goes in the kennel.
Most goes free. Hi, bud.
Okay.
There we go. Good job, bud. So then we just have to build duration in the kennel, and we're not going to include that in this video because it's, you know, it's a quick video. We can't stand out here and video for a week straight.
He's waiting for his reward.
See.
Yes, you said kennel and he went in.
So basically, we just build duration in the kennel, right? So we get the dog in the kennel, and then we do things like shut the door, and then, yes, good boy, Moose. Hi, bud. And then we'll shut the door and then open it again, right? So, nope. Kennel. No, sir. Kennel. Yes. So what I'm doing now is I blocked him from coming out because I didn't say free. And I don't want the dog to think that me opening the kennel door is a cue for him to come rushing out. We want the dog to know that when I say free, then they can come out of the kennel, okay? So we get the dog really liking the kennel and liking hanging out in there. Good boy. We get them used to seeing the door closed and opened. Nope. Free. Come on. Yes, a good boy. Like so. Kennel. Yes, sir. And then we get them used to having the door closed and latches on the door. And then we let them hang out in there for a few seconds. And I'll still walk up and feed the dog. Good boy.
So walking up randomly to feed just kind of reinforces, yeah, you're still in there and it's still a good thing.
Yep. And I can build duration like this, right? So I put him in there and I close the door and I wait maybe 5 seconds. And then I pay the dog, good boy, for hanging out in there. I step away, then I wait maybe 10 or 15 seconds. Good boy. And some things to take note of, okay? If the dog has a positive association with the crate, they shouldn't be freaking out a whole lot, okay? So if you have a dog that doesn't like being in the crate and they figured out once they've gotten in there and you've shut the door, they feel kind of trapped and they start barking to get back out, don't reward the dog when they're barking, okay? So when they're barking, just kind of hang out here for a few seconds, get the dog's attention with food or whatever you got to do to get them to be quiet. So if they're barking, I'll usually go, hey, 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 and show them like a little piece of food. And as soon as they stop barking because they get focused on the food, I'll say, yay, good dog, and give them the food. So now I'm doing two things. We're conditioning the dog to stay in the crate, and we're conditioning the dog to not bark, because when they're in the crate barking, nothing good happens. They don't get the food. When they're in the crate and they stop barking, that's when they get the food. Yes, sir. So then we're creating a dog that learns to go in a crate and be relatively calm in the crate and not bark a whole lot like Drake is in the house where he was a few minutes ago.
And the important thing I want to just kind of highlight too is that you said you're rewarding them for being calm.
Yeah, right. So you
that's,
know,
again, that goes back with timing and what you're reinforcing.
right. So we see Moose is just kind of hanging out in the crate, and he's looking at me. He's not barking. He's not spinning around 100 miles an hour in his crate. He's just standing there focused on me. And he's being fairly calm. And as long as he's staying fairly calm, he keeps getting rewards.
And some dogs aren't going to be this calm right out the gate. Some dogs are going to take a little longer. You got to be patient and you got to be diligent. It's not every dog is going to be as easy as Moose. Especially like Jeremy said in the beginning, if the dog's already had a bad experience, you're going to have a little tougher time more than likely. But if you're patient and your timing is good, you can turn it around.
So now that we've got a dog in the crate, they're used to being in there, they're relatively calm in the crate. We want them to realize that just because, like I said earlier, we open the door doesn't mean the dog can come rushing out. So to teach a dog this, I will bend down and unlatch the door. And I start to open it slowly. If the dog tries to come out, I just close the door back and I say no. Oh. So I saw his head go down and he started to lean forward a bit, so I already knew he was going to rush out the door. So I just say no and I close the door back. Nope. 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 So every time the dog's head breaks the plane, the front of this kennel, basically every time he sticks his head through the door opening, I say no and I just close the door back. So what we're trying to do is get the dog to a point where we can open the door all the way before they try to run out, and then I can say free. I know. Nope. If the dog's super persistent about trying to come out of the crate, I'll say no, and then when they back up into the crate, yes sir, I'll start with the rewards. Nope. Nope. And this is where being patient comes in really handy. Okay? So this isn't something I would be trying to train him to do if I had to be at a doctor's appointment in half an hour. Okay? Because then I'm just going to be getting frustrated. I'm going to be slamming the door in his face, and then I'll probably get up and I'll be like, or give up, and I'll be like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to leave you locked in the crate. Free. Good boy, yes sir. Good job, Goose Goose. I'm You're standing on your leash. I know.
So I'm a good boy.
He said, I hear you. I know you're out there, and I know you're working with another stinking dog. All right, so that's kind of teaching a dog the proper crate manners 101. You know, it's a little more long and drawn out than this, but for the sake of trying to do a pretty quick video, we kind of covered all the steps. You just gotta take your time and teach it right.
Yep. And if anybody's interested in a big old handsome bloodhound, Mr. Moose,
That's right.
he's up for adoption.
Moose is available for adoption.
How old's Moose now?
How old?
Yeah.
He's around 4.5-ish, going on 5. That's what we were told by his original owners anyway. He's pretty energetic. His personality is a lot younger. Like if I had to guess by the way he acts, he's still very puppyish. I would guess that he was like maybe a year and a half or two.
He's
But
pretty sick.
but his owner that surrendered him has had him since he was a little puppy, and he came to me like a year ago,
Something like that.
and he was four-ish then. He was around 4 years old. Hi, bud. Sit. Nope, nope, nope. Yes, good boy. Make the right choice, dude. Okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he's available for adoption. He's very food motivated, lots of energy, pretty energetic guy. You can get him to do just about anything with food.
So if you're interested in adopting Moose, just contact Flo with Sick.